told him, please don't come and insult people. Well, I really had 4 of them I need to insult. That's not how you're gonna get.
Yeah, he already got me. It was kind of a, you gonna do anything, you're just gonna be in it.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't even started yet.
He's a dad.
Good evening and welcome to Safford City Council. We've a reminder, if you have a cell phone, would you either mute it or turn it off? It's up to you. Our roll call, we're missing a couple. Pledge of Allegiance is going to be offered by Councilman Hemphill. The opening prayer is going to be offered by Councilman Anazola. Would you stand with me and remain standing for the opening prayer as well, please?
Lord God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together as a family today. We pray for all of our staff that are present here, that are department heads, Lord. We pray for what's going to be discussed, that we're open-minded and we hear each other. We also thank you for this beautiful valley that we have, Lord Jesus. And we thank you for citizens of Safford. And we pray for Councilman Lopez and Councilman Ortega, or Vice Mayor Ortega tonight. We ask you please send your prayers amongst them. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman. Do we have any agenda items, citizen comments, and non-agenda items? Okay, that brings us to item 7.1, which is the Safford Sparkless Chamber of Commerce event. Mrs. Anderson.
From the chamber, but I don't see him here. He did inform me that he was going to be here. Just to back up on these next 4 agenda items, these events were approved last February by council. Since then, we've obviously had some changes in life in general, and it has to do with the COVID virus. And so based on Governor Ducey's executive order, any events that have greater than 50 people are prohibited unless the town, city, town, or county has approved the event, and only if adequate safety precautions are implemented. So we reached out to the Safford Downtown Association and the Chamber, and then we have one event on here as our own to show the mitigation plans that will be for each event. And so the first one is the Safford Sparkles Chamber Christmas Crossword Cruise. And if you look through the information you have, we now have a new COVID-19 compliance event permit that was completed by the Chamber. And that is for their event on December 19th to start at 10 a.m. and end time at 10 p.m. On the following page has a description of the event. And the Chamber is proposing COVID-19 safety precautions and implementation plan to include participants are invited to go to all participating retail locations to find clues to a crossword puzzle. They will be subject to social distancing and masking procedures within these businesses. Participants will be required to wear a mask to participate. Our booth will have markings greater than 6 feet apart to maintain distancing procedures. And then it talks about this crossword puzzle that they are doing. They are also proposing from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. to have participants cruise or drag down Main Street to Christmas music. They will have their booth open for curbside hot chocolate. Chamber staff will wear gloves and masks, and participants will be asked to stay in their vehicles. And then again, that's a continuation of their crossword puzzle event. As part of this, apparently the city of Safford has a no cruising ordinance in place, and so the Chamber is requesting a waiver of the no cruising Main Street ordinance from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Saturday, December 19th. Obviously that item is also an action item, and I'll be happy to answer any questions as best I can for the Chamber.
John?
Point of order, we kind of reviewed the proposal, and there is no Main Street ordinance regarding cruising. So
I didn't think so.
No, there is. So,
Because if so, we're going to make that happen again.
we're gonna make it happen.
started
Yeah,
up.
cruising again.
Oh, cruising, yeah. Yeah, so there is no ordinance against it. I think it was really more of an enforcement and a public safety issue. And so we talked with Glenn about that, so just so we know, there's no ordinance there to be waived.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Is there a plan for, how someone not wearing a mask, how that will be handled?
That's not completely identified in the chamber's plan. I can't speak specifically for the chamber. I know they will make masks available to the public, and that's the best that I can answer that question.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to discuss on the first item? I'm just happy to see that we're opening up and still moving forward despite this COVID that's going to be around forever. You know, we just had this huge blitz. Almost 300 people got tested, and only 30 of them came back positive. That's a positive sign as far as I'm concerned. So I think that we're moving in the right direction. We're allowing the kids, we're allowing the citizens to enjoy the holiday season, and that's what I'm all about. So with that, I entertain a motion. We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bring us to item 7.2, which is Safford Sparkle City of Safford event.
So this particular event is hosted by the city of Safford. It's where we have an outdoor movie event on the city hall lawn. This request was approved in February of 2020. We set up a screen, show a movie, invite families to attend. As part of your packet, we have the application actually from our Planning and Community Development Department, and I'm going to introduce Pam Frost, our special events liaison. And then the next page you have our outdoor requirements, and Pam, if you want to take over from this point.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the Safford Sparkles Family Movie Night, I'm gonna move this so I can talk here, is Friday, December 11th at 6 o'clock, Safford City Hall lawn. And the outdoor movie that we would like to present is Polar Express. And then we will offer free popcorn. And Genevieve's has said that they will be on site with hot beverages for purchase. And everyone that participates is to bring their own blankets and chairs, and also to remember to stay within the 6 feet guidelines. And we are requiring masks for everyone, and they will be provided if they do not have them. Signs will be posted to remind everyone to stay the 6 feet apart, as well as the masks. And we will be monitoring the attendees as they arrive to make sure that they are in those guidelines. We will also mark out the spaces, 10 feet squares, and then space those squares 6 feet apart so that we can have families grouped together and keep them apart. Gloves and masks will be worn by those who are serving the popcorn, and all those places will be wiped down after each participant or each customer. We will have a sanitation station there as well. And if you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? With that, I'm going to ask for an entertain a motion as well.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Do we have any other discussion on this issue? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks,
Thank you.
Pam. Item 7.3, Safford Downtown Association Light Parade event.
So the next item on the agenda is the light parade that is sponsored by the Safford Downtown Association. They have provided us the new application. That's the COVID-19 compliance event permit. And with that, there is a list that you have as part of your packet of a number of items that they will be doing. And I will bring up the president of the Safford Downtown Association, Danny Smith, to go over those and answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Susan. Mayor, council, my name is Danny Smith. I live at 350 Cochise Street in Safford. I'm here tonight representing the Safford Downtown Association. I have some of our board members here with us in the audience, Joe Hancock, David Bell, Johnny Howard, and of course we have Susan and Pam, who we get a tremendous amount of help from, and we thank you for that, for everything that they do. We're proposing, or we have this opportunity because you have a compliance event permit, which we've submitted for Mary Main Street and the light parade. I'm hoping that you've had a chance to review that, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I can go over some of the changes that we've made this year.
That's good. What are your changes, Danny?
This year, for instance, for the Mary Main Street event, in this new COVID reality, our messaging will include, number one, it sounds kind of strange for an event, but the number one message is to stay home if you're sick, or at least come only with your family. Bring your own supplies for hand sanitizer, masks, drinking water, and then we intend to follow all state and CDC coronavirus guidelines in our messaging and at the event. We are asking, or we are saying that masks are required to attend the event. Mask required signage will be displayed throughout the event in 30 different locations we have in mind. Masks will be required to visit Mrs. Claus inside the building where we normally have Mrs. Claus. We will provide masks and hand sanitizer at City Hall at the tree lighting ceremony for anyone missing a mask. We have eliminated bounce houses and other obvious games like that have potential to be a problem. We intend to clean those game surfaces and that we do have often. We have eliminated the seating for such things as the karaoke competition. The snow hill this year, we intend to make some other piles of snow to spread out the kids and spread out the snow. We will have hand washing stations at the corners at City Hall, 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue, and Central Avenue. Santa Claus will be located at the Safford Theater, but will be behind a picture frame in which you take a picture with Santa in the frame, and then you are outside the frame, 6 feet apart. And we'll be able to announce these COVID precautions from the stage at the tree lighting ceremony. We'll have display posters and signage to stay 6 feet apart at the 4 intersections. At the food vendor lines, we will indicate 6-foot distances on the sidewalk. That's for Mary Main Street. The light parade is, well, you want to do that one first? I did Mary Main Street first.
That's okay.
Mayor, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
When it comes time to approve these, can we just do them both at the same time?
We sure can. So go ahead and talk over both of them.
Okay, so for the light parade, much of the same precautions. The biggest difference in the light parade is the intended route. We understand that whatever route we do that's longer is more of a burden, but we think that that's important to spread out the crowd as much as we can. The route that we propose is about two and a quarter times longer than the normal route. And then we're open to anything else that needs to be done. If we decide that it needed to be longer than that, we could do that also between now and then. We could make a change if needed. That's probably the biggest thing that we're planning on doing to spread people out at that event. Let me try to find something that's, we have eliminated the bleachers that Graham County normally provides, trying to help spread people out and not have them congregate in the same places. Much of the other mitigation is the same.
Okay.
Happy to answer any question.
Well, one thing I'm definitely glad to see that you're taking extreme precautions to keep Santa Claus COVID-free, because he's got a lot of houses to visit.
It does.
So we appreciate that. As well as on a, serious note, you guys, thank you so much for continuing with this. Even though we're in this time, you guys have done what you need to do to still make it happen and to still bring a joy on a kid's face or even an adult's face, and I appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Danny?
Just real quick, Mayor.
Go ahead.
The same one, Danny, any preparations been made with the SDA for people that don't wear masks? That either refuse or?
There's, as we know, there's not a mask mandate in the city of Safford or in Graham County.
Right.
So there's not, and there's also not a zeal to enforce one. So all we can do is ask and encourage. Like we said, we're asking people to spread out and or stay home if they're not comfortable coming to the event.
And
We don't know. We might have half the people that we normally do, and that's totally understandable, and we're certainly fine with that.
And I also appreciate that we're going ahead with these. I'm sad that we missed the Harvest Festival, but I guess my concern is, and I guess the executive order also doesn't require masks, but my concern is that if we have signage that says they're required, and half the people don't have, maybe the signage needs to reflect that we're requesting masks be worn when social distancing isn't possible. There's a visual
that's a good
issue.
point. That's a good point. At a minimum, I think that our Safford Downtown Association, which is a different entity,
Correct.
could be the one requesting or requiring a mask,
Sure.
so that the city's not put in a awkward position.
I guess it's just an optics
Yeah,
issue potentially that,
right.
for all the events.
Yep.
Again, I'm excited that they're happening, but,
If you would like, I could work with your staff, and we could fine tune the wording on our messaging about masks.
sure, please,
I think I understand what you mean, and if
Right.
I don't, I'll give you a call and
sure,
make sure I do.
thank you.
Danny, I'd like to say thank you to you and the Downtown Association for doing an excellent job, and I commend you guys, okay?
Well, thank you. We are tiny. We're a tiny,
Yes.
tiny little organization. We have a $9,000 a year budget, and then we do some great events where it costs $20,000, and then we do some great larger projects. But without your help, helping us pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, we wouldn't be nearly as successful. And the point of our organization and these events is to draw attention to Safford's commercial shopping district, like always. Don't want to lose sight of what we're doing,
Right.
in addition to having a great time and providing some really neat events.
Danny, are you able to secure the monies, the people coming forward to help bring the monies to help have the snow day and this and that and the other?
We really have, yeah,
Good.
and they are anxious to find out if they're going to be able to do it. And so that's been a real blessing that we've had the financial support that we needed again. So
So you need anything extra from us? Just an approval? And of course, more money?
No, just your approval, and know that your decision is our decision, whatever it is, and that we are happy to work with staff, and things, we also know things can change, you know, for the better or for the worse, and we could make more consideration in spreading people out, reducing numbers, and or maybe hopefully we'll be back to whatever normal is,
Right.
but we'll see.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask for an entertain a motion on items 3 and 4, which is the Safford Downtown Association Light Parade event and the Safford Downtown Association Merry Main Street event, as put in with some possible changes if they need it, but it would be directed between the Downtown Association and staff. So if is that okay to say that? We good? Motion?
I make that motion.
Okay, we
I'll
have a
second.
motion. And a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Did you ask Joe if she still wanted the money?
Well, she's got the wrong person.
Joe's our treasurer.
She's doing this.
Yeah, we
I
saw her
saw-
waving, she was doing the wave back there.
John's department's got a big budget, so you can take some out of that, Joe.
We're
That's the
happy to
manager's.
help with our economic development efforts.
All right, that brings us to item 7.5, which is the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes? So entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to item 7.6, which is the reallocation of funds. Mr. Seal, you're up.
Mayor and council, this is a request for the reallocation of funds to purchase a dump truck for the water department. The City of Safford Water Division was approved $60,000 for the purchase of a potable water truck in fiscal year '21. The water department or the water division currently owns 2 10-wheelers and a 1-ton dump truck for material transportation. The water division needs for a dump vehicle exceeds the current inventory. By reallocating the needs of the department, it has been determined that this dump vehicle will fill the needs of the day-to-day operation. Do you have any questions?
Do you have any questions? Entertain a motion.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
How long before we are gonna need the water truck?
Mayor, Councilman McGoy, we currently have a potable water truck, so we can get by. The thought was that if we purchased another potable water truck, we would utilize our current water truck as a reclaimed water truck. We cannot put anything other than potable in that truck right now. That would give us the capability of taking that reclaimed water down to Bonita Creek if we had any work being done, or dust control. Right now, if we have dust control, we have to go to a dead-end line and flush older stagnant water out of the line and then use that for dust control with that truck. So what we currently have, we can get by with that.
But it still would be nice to have another water truck.
Correct,
But we're gonna hear from you again.
at some point.
Thank you.
Motion's on the floor.
So moved.
Second?
We got a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Norman. Resolution number R 20-026. This is for Lance Henry.
Evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and Council to review and approve Resolution R 20-026, authorizing the city manager to use contingency funds to cover the cost of a cadastral survey of the BLM property west of the current landfill. The city submitted a new land acquisition application under the Recreation and Public Properties Act, or Public Purposes Act with BLM, and we met with staff this month to discuss moving this application forward. The first step in this process is to have the land surveyed by federal surveyors provided by BLM. but paid for by the city. Once the surveys are complete, the city is responsible for hiring a third-party BLM-approved consultant to do an environmental assessment of the property. Once this is completed, the properties will sell for $10 an acre under this Recreation and Public Purposes Act. Staff's recommending using $20,000 in contingency funds for this cadastral survey of approximately 280 acres of land west of the current landfill. Be happy to answer any questions you have on this. And I did have Tammy hand out a handout. It was a letter I got from BLM today. I was supposed to have that a week ago, but that was a letter requesting the funds. They've got the estimated cost of the survey done by BLM.
So Lance, we knew this was happening according to what I'm reading, in 2018, but yet you're asking for 20,000 to come out of the contingency funds. Why would that not have been in just in your regular budget?
This is something we've been under BLM's finger for a while. We didn't know when this was going to be moved forward. They've been on it. They're on a 2-year behind right now. We had no idea what the cost of this survey was until our meeting this month. We had no idea that, I got a call 2 months ago that we could do the survey, which would be great, but that changed once they got into the process. We met with them. We had no idea what this was going to cost until this month. So that being said, that's why we're asking for these funds. We're hoping for the next budget cycle, when we get to the EA part, they're going to give us some estimated costs of what environmental assessments cost. We can budget for that, and that'll probably be on our next CIP.
So the 20,000 out of the contingency fund is just the overall contingency fund. It's not just your contingency fund. Go ahead.
It's part of the utilities. We have one for utilities, so it's coming out of that. And essentially, the contingency funds basically authorize you to be able to expend the funds. That's what an appropriation is. So the actual funding will come from the reserves within that fund, within the landfill, in order to fill that contingency need.
So are we going to pay ourselves back if we're using this out of the contingency fund? So will I see this in our budget for 2021 to repay back the contingency fund?
No, you won't.
And could you explain why?
Well, because the contingency fund, or the reserve, is essentially a savings account.
Right.
And so that savings account, sometimes that's why we do the contingency. So if something comes up, we can cover it on the expenditure side. And in this case, in order to pay for it, we had to use reserves. The reserves are a savings account that are part of that fund. And so when we didn't know that this was coming, we just basically said, since we hadn't budgeted for it and the fund itself couldn't pay out of the existing budget, we took money out of the savings account to pay for it. But we'll continue to put money into that fund over time, and this amount is a relatively small amount relative to the overall reserve.
Go ahead. No, no. Okay. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item 8.2, the resolution R20-27.
While we're talking contingency funds, I'll just continue on. This is a request for mayor and council to review and approve resolutions R20-027, R20-028, and R20-029, accepting 3 grants from ADOT to assist in funding design of projects for the Safford Airport. I received an email from the state airport engineer letting me know that additional funds have become available this year. And ADOT selected Safford Airport for these 3 grants that are attached. These 3 grants would be in addition to the FY21 grant that was budgeted for design services related to construction of 826 for $175,000. The 3 projects will include reconstruction of taxiway C, reconstruction of taxiway D, and reconstruction of the T-hangar apron. All 3 of these projects were on the CIP 5-year plan, as well as the airport capital, the ASIP plan, and were previously planned for FY22 but moved up due to additional funds. These are 90-10 match grants, so the cost of the city would be $22,500 to get $225,000 worth of projects ready to go. Do you have any questions on this one?
Entertain a motion.
This is the same situation, or
It's pretty much the same situation. We had this
And money we
budgeted for next year, but ADOT has additional funding this year and wants to give us money, so we want to bump it up in our CIP. So it'll be taken off next year's CIP because we'll get it done this year.
is there anything in this year's budget we're gonna have to do without because we're spending too
No.
much over there? Okay.
No. Like I said, we do have a budgeted design project already in there for $175,000 our cost for the reconstruction of 826.
Manager Cassell?
Mayor, members of council, yeah, this is actually a good example, one next to the other. So in the first situation, we didn't have funding from an external source, and therefore, the contingency, when we passed our budget, when we pass a tentative budget, it creates a cap. So what you try to do is you build in some room in there called the contingency, which is basically a way of saying, this is appropriations that we really don't have anything specifically earmarked for yet, but if something was to come up during the year, we have the higher limit that we can fund to. In the first case, we don't have an external source, so the revenues for that payment are coming from our own reserve fund. In the first one with BLM. This one, we're actually getting money from outside. So the contingency creates the expenditure room to make the expenditure, but we're actually getting a revenue source from outside. So they're similar but different, if that makes sense.
Move to approve.
We have a motion
Second?
and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 9, the reports, the P card report. Everybody have an opportunity to look over that? How about the expense over 5,000?
Mayor, were
Go
the
ahead.
other resolutions supposed to go through too, or?
I think those are all carried out at the same time, right?
Are we
Do I need to read those? You need to read those, Tammy? Yeah, I thought so. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry about that, Mayor. I didn't-
No. And would you do the, resolution 26, 27, 28, 29? Thanks.
Resolution number R 20-026, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Bureau of Land Management to complete a cadastral survey of the property west of the current landfill planned for future development.
Okay, next ones?
Resolution R 20-027, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to accept a grant for state funds from the Arizona Department of Transportation for the purpose of aiding and financing a project for design of taxiway C improvements at the Safford Regional Airport. Resolution R 20-028, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to accept a grant for state funds from the Arizona Department of Transportation for the purpose of aiding and financing a project for design of T-hanger apron improvements at the Safford Regional Airport. Resolution R 20-029, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to accept a grant for state funds from the Arizona Department of Transportation for the purpose of aiding and financing a project of design for taxiway D improvements at the Safford Regional Airport.
Okay. 9-1 P card reports. Expense over 5,000. I'm going too fast, stop me. Revenues over 5,000. Prosecution report. Staff, thanks for getting those out and letting us have a chance to preview them and look at them. And we miss Councilman Lopez. That's about the fastest that one's ever gone.
Yeah, it gets kind of quiet. Well,
That brings us to item 10, announcement of current events. We have current events. No? Okay, then that brings us to item 11, report on operational items. The annual fire report will be first. That'll be offered by Chief Clark Bingham.
Mayor and members of the council, bring to you the report, the annual report of the Safford Fire Department for fiscal year 1920. A brief overview of it is Safford Fire Department right now currently has 32 members. Our budget for the year 1920 was $956,598. in which the city paid $478,299, and the fire district paid $478,299. In fiscal year 1920, Safford Fire Department responded to 213 calls for service. Those broke down are 84 calls for service in the city, 123 in the district, and 6 public service calls. The estimated property dollar loss amount for the year was $873,000. In the city, that was $682,000. The district was $121,000, and public service was $70,000. Short and long of it. Any questions?
I want to commend you and as well as the entire fire department for maintaining a class 4. As I'm reading this ISO, even for the district too, you're within 5 miles of a fire station and over 1,000 feet of a fire hydrant, you're a class 8, and then greater than is a class 10. So great to maintain the class 4 for the citizens here as well. So it takes a lot of work.
It does.
How are your, how is the city doing on flowing the hydrants for you?
I've been talking with Mr. Nathan Estes, and he informs me that as soon as they start spilling water over the TMT, they're going to start flushing and flowing hydrants this year. So.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for?
Chief Bingham, I'd just like to say thank you for all that you do. You know, I hear you guys all over, you know, so tell your men thank you, and I commend you all, okay? So, great job.
Will do. Thank you. Anything further?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Gas update by Raymond.
Mayor and Council, I'm here to present the 2019-2020 Gas Division Consumption and Operations Report. Consumption, the City of Safford distributed a daily average of 497 MCF, which is 1,000 cubic feet. MCF equals 1,000 cubic feet. We had a peak flow of 1,711, and we had a low flow of 119 MCF. We distributed a total of 185,326 MCF. The Safford Gas Division has a total of 4,020 services. We averaged 3,630 active customers. Of these, 3,140 were residential, 490 were commercial, and 155 are ex-coded. These are seasonal gas users or homes that have active accounts but the gas turned off. We have a total of 152 vacant accounts. Our average for the last 3 years, we've been a little bit higher in the summer months and a little lower in the winter months due to a warmer winter this year. And our completed gas projects, we did a 100% gas leak survey. We completed the install of the First Avenue rectifier. We completed the install of Jensen Phase 2. We updated 80 meters. We had 10 hit gas lines. We had 106 odor complaints, and we updated 9,389 feet of gas line. For compliance, we performed a gap analysis. We did 122 updates and changes to our gas manuals. We had an audit with the Arizona Corporation Commission for years 2017, 2018, and 2019. We implemented a new training program. We also did a trailer park cleanup project where we removed 83 meters that were to vacant properties. We also completed our uprate procedures and began the uprate process. Is there any questions?
I noticed that, as we all know, that another entity in our area sold their gas department. How are you feeling as far as our gas department is concerned? Are we giving the customers the best bang for their buck?
Currently, yes. From what I've seen, we have some of the lowest rates in the state. We're profitable. We have a really good division where we have a real good CIP project going out, and we're replacing main as it needs. We have no real bad parts of the system, so we're in a real healthy position currently.
And all of our crew is, we have enough crewmen?
Yes, currently we have enough crewmen for the time being. We're perfectly staffed. In the future, we might elect to have one more added as a replacement to a gentleman that we're going to have retiring. But that's pretty much it. I think we're really good staff. We have enough people, and we're doing a pretty good job.
I guess in our budget, we'll find out to what we're bringing in as far as the gas and what our payout is, and just.
Yeah.
Okay. I look forward to seeing that. Anybody have any questions for Raymond? Raymond, thank you.
Thank you.
Revenues update, Alma. All we want is good news. Don't give us bad news. Huh?
Thing wasn't working.
That's going to be the only bad news, is that thing wasn't working, right? Good.
Sorry. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm doing a review on the general fund revenues. And tonight I'm going over the 3 highest revenue sources within the general fund. The city sales tax, the state shared sales tax, and the state shared income tax are the 3 largest sources, and they make up 80% of our general fund revenue. So tonight, the city sales tax, looking from budget to August 31st, which is 2 months into the year, we are at 10% of our budget. And looking at year over year, previous year during the same time frame, we have a positive variance of $222,000. So we almost received double in the city sales tax than the previous year. Looking at the state shared sales tax, we have received $142,000 in revenues, which is about 14% of our budget. And last year, looking year over year, we have a positive variance of $13,000. The city sales tax and the state shared sales tax are 2 revenues that will fluctuate based on sales and the economy. So we want to really monitor these, and the finance does monitor these, and make sure that we're receiving the revenue that we need to be receiving. And so, looking at the current actual, we're from budget and even prior year, we have a very favorable revenues. The state shared income tax, that has a 2-year lag on it. So when we receive those revenues, we're actually receiving the revenues that are from 2 years ago. So those revenues are very predictable, and so those are coming in as they should be as well.
I think one key takeaway out of this is, during this pandemic, we've seen people staying home and shopping. And that's why it's really critical to really hit this home of what we as the city are doing with the monies of the people, and making sure that when this budget cycle comes up, that we are spending their money very wisely, and giving them at the same time things that they like to see and need. And especially as we're entering the holidays, that's why we really need to hit home as well. Stay here and shop here and watch your monies being spent within your own community. Alma, you did talk about a variance, quite a significance and variance on this as well. You shared some of that. I almost want to say I contribute some of that to the online shopping, because we are now getting sales tax from that. So can you tell me if you know what that percentage is by, like, the Amazon shoppers that we're receiving sales tax from? Do you think that that's one of the main reasons why you're seeing such an increase in the variance, is what you said?
So Mayor Couts, I want to just touch on a couple of things that you've brought up. And I would say you are correct to say that people have been confined to their homes due to the COVID. And so we have seen that people have been shopping local. So we can see that and recognize that within our city sales tax. And that is not just for us, that is cities and towns across the state that are seeing that same impact. As far as the online sales goes, so the largest increase within the city sales tax is the retail. And that's more specifically the retail here locally, not necessarily the online. The online, yes, has increased. It is fairly new, and so I don't have a lot of data to compare it to. But it has increased slightly, but is not the largest portion. I would have to say that the main drive of the city sales tax increasing is the retail, which is the local retail that we're seeing.
Okay, online was in last year too.
Online was in last year, yes, it was.
About 100,000 we got last year
From
online, which was
online?
new.
Yes.
Anybody have anything else for Alma on the revenues update?
Mayor, I also just want to just notify council that I've been working with the City Manager Casella and also Assistant City Manager Hill, and we're working on some new revenue reports that will hopefully roll out soon, and that way we know the importance of providing you with this financial data quicker. We have ClearGov that is available, but there's about a 3-week lag on that sometimes, depending on, so 3 weeks into the next month, we're posting the previous month's data in there. The data is available, and we want to be transparent, and so we hope to come up with some other reports. But we did feel that, of course, the revenue source and the general fund, these were important to notify you. So I will be back again next month to even give you more data on it.
Perfect.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just to follow up on that point, we are in the process right now of redoing the monthly reports. We want to standardize what we're providing. We want to basically make it comprehensive and look like it came from one author, and try to give you more succinct information that you can use. As part of that update to the monthly reports, we're going to be adding in a monthly revenue report. So you will have monthly information coming out on our revenue stream on a regular basis. The only caveat there is that some of that reporting is limited in terms of what we can say in a public way in terms of revealing. But so again, as we begin to roll these out and as we add revenue in there, things like, you know, the online, and again, we would have to check with finance. If there are things that you would like to see that you're not seeing as we roll this stuff out, you know, let us know and we can make adjustments. But I think giving you the expenditures is all well and good, but I think that revenue income and giving you a sense how we're doing is very important, so we want to add that in.
So in this report, is it going to be sectioned out to where we'll have a report of like what's coming in from restaurants and bars, and what's coming in from retail stores such as, you know, your box stores, as
Yes.
well as mom and pop shops on Main Street? I mean, I know that's going to all be dived into retail, but it'll be sectioned out.
Yes.
Is that kind of what you guys are looking at?
So Mayor, members of council, what we'll be doing is looking at local sales tax is made up of a number of categories: restaurant and bar, retail. There are certain categories like hotel where, because of the limited number of hotels, we can't break that number out even though we receive it. So the groupings will be there, and we made an effort to make it as detailed as we possibly can without violating any issues in terms of putting. So yes, the short answer is yes, we are going to break it down as much as we possibly can.
And I know that it'll be available on the website, but I really think that when you copy us on that, I think it would be very beneficial to copy the chamber, unless you disagree with me.
No, I mean, again, this is going to be a public document. It'll be available on the website. Again, the idea is to inform, to provide more information so you have a sense of what's going on in real time. So, no, that would not be an issue at all.
Perfect. I think that'd be great. Any other questions for Alma? Alma, thank you.
Thank you.
Insurance update, Lydia?
Well, I was able to connect earlier, but hang on just a second. Okay, Sam, I need your help up here.
Lydia, I'm sorry, but could you use like a construction voice here?
My construction voice?
Yell and scream at me, just like my men do, okay?
It's not letting me open up the icon. I did connect earlier, so I don't know what happened.
Do you want, can you use my iPad?
Well, is everything on our screens? If so, you can just continue moving forward with it. I mean, we're seeing, it's not like we're hiding anything from the public. If they want it, they can, it's on the website as well, correct?
Yes, I have, and I have not made
Okay,
any changes to that,
okay.
so.
So just move forward and we can follow along with you if you kind of
Okay.
start from the top.
Yeah, if you want to take it and see if you get it to connect. I've got my slides here though. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this presentation is to provide you with an update on the employee benefits. Slide 2, do you want me to just name through the slides as I go? Slide 2, this is our process and timeline. And in October, we advertised an RFP, and a committee of 5 interviewed all brokerage firms that responded to that RFP. We are currently creating a benefit design for market pricing that will take place in November and December. When those results come in, we will have informational meetings with the City Council in January, and then we will compare those results to the Ragged renewals and decide if we will stave or leave Ragged in February. If we do leave Ragged, then in March we will begin implementation and educate our staff on their new benefits in April. May will be open enrollment like we currently have with Ragged, and June will be our administrative processing period. Our new benefits will then be effective July 1st. On slide 3, the brokerage firms that we interviewed on October 1st were Capital Financial, CBIZ, Benefit Intelligence, and Vector Employer Solutions. In slide 4, the broker that we selected was CBIZ, and the main reason why we selected them was based on qualifications with their 42 years of experience in the Arizona market. They have 19 Arizona public sector clients and 51 self-funded clients. Oscar Diaz, Vice President of Business Development Consultant, has 31 years of experience and will be the consultant working directly with the City of Safford. In addition, there are 5 other members on our service team with an account executive, a lead financial analyst, engagement and well-being consultant, senior claims advocate, and a marketing specialist. On slide 5 is a list of their public sector clients, and some of those are also self-funded. On slide 6 is our next steps. Like I had mentioned, in November and December, HR will be working directly with Oscar Diaz and his team for the benefit design and market pricing on the programs you see to the left of the slide. In January, we will have those informational meetings with City Council, similar to like what we did during the budgeting process, to allow you time to ask questions and get clear answers to your questions. And Oscar Diaz will be in those meetings to really elaborate on the details of those pricings that comes in. In February is when staff will make a recommendation to renew our contract with Ragged or to award the broker contract with CBIZ. Our primary goal is just to keep the City Council informed, and if that's all I have as where we're at today. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Lydia, and you selected a broker when you were interviewing brokers. What are they doing for us?
So I broke it out in 2 different phases. So the first phase, if whoever's got that, if you want to move to the previous slide with where it says next steps. Yes, that right there. So what they're doing is they are going to do their own RFPs to get insurance companies to respond with looking at our claims data that they'll get from Ragged and see if they can get pricing on what a health insurance company would charge us to enroll our staff. They'll be looking at a health insurance program, wellness program, dental insurance, vision, life insurance, and AD&D, supplemental insurance, and our third-party administrator to process claims, our COBRA administration, and FSA. So it's the whole benefits, the whole core package that they will be going out and pricing and putting together for us. Very similar to what ECA does through Raggett. But this will be different. It'll be different. We'll have our own individual contracts with each company instead of it all tied into a trust.
And what does this cost in the city?
So for the first phase, which is just to get the market pricing for us to compare, to see if our best bet is to leave Raggett or to stay, is $2,500 a month for the 4 months, which is $10,000.
And out of the 4 companies that you interviewed, the one you chose, is that the lowest bid?
Actually, it was the same bid for CBiz and Vector Solutions, and the other 2 were lower bids, but their qualifications did not make me feel comfortable with having them do this process, and especially if we left Raggett.
And so CBiz is a company that will not bid on selling us insurance, correct?
I'm sorry, I don't
So
understand your
like
question.
they're helping us write what we want. So does that automatically take them, do they sell insurance?
No, they're not selling the insurance. So I think you might be talking about the supplemental insurance. That's where you have an agent that actually sells insurance products, such as Aflac or Colonial or something like that. But they will, whenever they go out for the pricing, they're going to go out to Cigna, United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona, and they're going to look at what our claims data, our experience was, and the insurance company will come back and say, this is what it will cost you based on your health plan design with what you created or what you're asking for to cover your staff.
But they will always be our broker.
They would be our broker moving forward until we decide to go find a new broker. And if, for whatever reason, if we wanted to change brokers, then our contracts are with the individual companies such as Cigna or United Healthcare or Delta Dental or Aflac. Those are all individual contracts that we would have, and if we want to change health, we can, and stay with dental because it's working for us. So what this does is give us the freedom to design our benefits the way that we want it, that works best for our employees, and not be locked into the vote of a trust.
Okay, and so I'm trying to understand, and maybe I'm just not. So CBiz will be with us forever as long as because they're our broker. So once we find insurance, then we're done paying them every month X amount of dollars, or no?
No. So like with any brokerage firm, so I broke it out in 2 phases just in case we stayed with Raggett. If we decide to leave Raggett and move forward with that, then they will be our brokerage firm, and we will continue to pay a monthly amount of $2,000, which would be about $26,000 a year. So we currently pay ECA, Aaron P. Collins and Associates, which is the administrators through Raggett. We pay them I want to say it's off the top of my head, it's $11 per employee per month plus $7.50 per employee per month to administer all of those things that CBiz would currently be doing for us if we decided to move forward. And we would have our own contract with CBiz for example, maybe a 3-year term, and if at any time we're unsatisfied with their services, then we would go do another RFP to find a new broker to service us for these activities.
Okay, so now I'm starting to understand. So we're in this Ragged Trust, but we're also using a broker that is called who, that just bought somebody else out, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Aaron P. Collins and Associates
and we're
merged
paying
with
them,
Gallagher.
just give me a yearly price. What do we pay them a year?
I would say
For the last person, how much do we pay the last guy a year?
So we pay ECA based on those per employee per month, and if you look at our eligible employees, it's about $36,000 a month, or, I'm sorry, a year, $36,000 a year.
And then this company, this Cebus, if we were to go on our own and we use them as a broker, you're only gonna be able to lock them in for 3 years. Is that what you're saying? Or we could probably lock them in other words, you're saying that it's 10,000 right now just for 4 months.
Just to do this piece of it for us.
Just to do
That is
this
correct.
piece. And did they give you a price yet if we chose to pull out of Ragged and go with this company as our broker and we individualize? Did you ever do we have that price?
Yes, we do, and that's $2,000 a month, which would be $26,400.
So it would be
A year.
saving there.
We would be saving there.
Okay.
And that doesn't, of
See,
course.
I'm
that-
learning something that I've, gosh, for 4 years never really got to understand, and now I'm starting to understand.
Right.
And this is what I would have liked to have seen 4 years ago, moving forward. That's why the insurance thing is such a big deal to me. I just sometimes feel like, it's, you cannot have it, if you know what I mean by that. But so now I'm understanding where we're going. So you're seeing this whole picture, I think, along with me, whether we choose to stay or not. So
Yes, and, if we choose to stay, it does, just like how I talked about salaries and wages, you should always know what's out there. Things change out
Right.
there, and if we don't leave whenever we're up for renewal with our contract with Ragged, it doesn't mean we shouldn't go through this process again. It costs money to do this. It is a lot of work to do it. But we could always do this again at our next 3-year.
And my question to you too is I want you to be processing this, just process this. What makes us have to use that broker? Could we use another broker and stay in the Ragged Trust?
No, we could not. And
So they kind of have us then.
yes.
That's not cool.
So for an example, I had provided in my last presentation some of our unsatisfaction with Ragged. And one of the biggest complaints I got was our vision insurance, which in my opinion is not an insurance, a reimbursement program. And it's such a small benefit in the big picture. It's probably your cheapest premium, but it just is not doing well for our staff. So I had asked Ragged, well, can we go out on our own and shop for a vision insurance for our employees? And we were told that we could not do that because it's something that Ragged provided in the trust.
Okay. And then one thing too is because I've known that we've had discussions before, but I want Chief Clark Bingham to be able to go back and let his men know as well. If we were to choose to do this, is the fire department going to be under the umbrella of the city of Safford still? If we were to pull out of Ragged, will they be covered under insurance?
So that was one of the specific interview questions that we had. And I did see history through council meetings that the answer to that would have been no, but your answer to that is pretty much a yes. It does depend on a couple of different things. Are they currently, one, covered? Yes. And they're covered by the Meritain. And another thing is, do they receive a W-2, which with how they're paid the stipend, they do receive a W-2. So some insurances companies might say no, but that would be an insurance company we would choose not to go with, because we understand how important our fire department is and what they do for us, and that's a huge thing that we need to provide for them. So it is with every intention that we're going to make sure that they are covered on the full benefits package that a regular employee would get, as well as council.
That's perfect. Wow, I learned a whole lot tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that is the purpose for the meetings in January, because it's going to be a lot of information.
So maybe we should have a work session on just insurance.
We probably could. I mean,
And you'll provide under your budget the lunch, right, or the breakfast?
Well, I understood
I'm
that
tired
all
of
of
the
this
council's
came out of
budget being used for everything.
another budget.
I'm just kidding. Anybody have any questions for Lydia? I thought it was informational. I hope I'm not the only one, but unless you guys are all Well, you all are smarter than I am. Go ahead.
And I just want to emphasize that I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad it's having that impact, because we are going to stay engaged on this all the way through. So again, the idea of having these meetings, if we have a work session or we have smaller meetings with council, we want you to be involved every step of the way, and so that when staff is presenting information, it actually provides something that is informative, that you understand where we're moving. Because when I get to the end of this process, whether we go ragged or we go in another direction, I want to make sure that everybody's comfortable at that point with the decision that they make.
You just want our hands dirty too, huh?
Exactly.
Hey,
you got this started.
I did. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate it
welcome.
very, very much. So it's super informational for me. Morgan, you're up for the WIFA.
Mayor and Council, this is in response to the mayor's request for more information on the effluent WIFA project. So currently, the city of Safford is looking at the project of the effluent line going to the Graham County Fairgrounds. So I want to give you an update on the current operation. So in 2019, we produced a total of 255 million gallons of A-plus effluent at the wastewater treatment facility. 190 million gallons of that went to effluent users, and 65 million of that went to the river. Part of our effluent users is the golf course, which used 147 million gallons in 2019. There is a field to the north of the treatment plant, which is currently used by the Future Farmers of America. They use approximately 40.6 million gallons, and the construction water standpipe at the treatment facility, where when contractors need dust control, they go, and they used about 2.4 million. So the project design and alignment, there's approximately 4 miles of pipeline traveling down 14th Avenue to Discovery Park Boulevard, and then turns to the east and runs down Discovery Park and then north at our yard, and then eventually makes its way to the Graham County Fairgrounds. South of the yard, correct. Thank you. So the city employees will install 3/4 of a mile of that pipeline that is from relation to the highway. We're currently working on part of that project. There will be 2 control valves. There will be a relocation of pumping equipment and lining of the storage ponds, and then an increased pump horsepower so that it'll allow us to pump directly from the pond to the fairgrounds. This kind of shows the alignment of the project. Right here is relation, and then it goes down Discovery or 14th Avenue, then we'll go Discovery Park. This is our yard. Head south and then go east. And this is our pond here, where the fairground pond, where it'll dump into on the north side of that pond. So the costs associated with this, currently we have a 60 horsepower pump at the plant that is estimated at $38,800 a year. There's a 40 horsepower pump at Robinson Ranch, that costs us $18,500. So that's a total of $57,300 for electricity costs. So the future cost, as I said, it'll be an increase in a pump, so we don't have to have an additional pumping station. Originally there was a projected pumping station halfway between the plant and the fairgrounds. By increasing the horsepower, we only have that pump at the pond for the golf course transmission. Estimated to be $48,500 a year, which would increase the cost to $9,700. I spoke about the lining of the storage pond. The storage pond is to the north of the plant, and it'll give us 20 million gallons of capacity. Currently, right now, we have about 10 to 20,000 gallons, so there's really not much availability of water unless we store that somewhere. So instead of pushing it to the river, that 65 million will be held in there, essentially. So on to the funding and the payment. So the current agreement between City of Safford and the Graham County is once we get the effluent pipe to them, they will start paying us a minimum of $110,000 per year. We will pump 50 million gallons of effluent, or try to at least, and then they will pay a flat rate of $2.50 per 1,000 gallons. And the loan itself, we did close on the loan. It is a 30-year loan for $3.2 million. There's $900,000 forgivable at a 1.866 interest rate, and for an annual payment of $101,909 annual payment. And that's all I have for this project. Are there any questions?
The lining of the storage pond, that's not on this anytime soon, like a couple, is it a year out, 2 years out? What do you?
Mayor, Council, that's actually in this fiscal year. We have about $400,000 in the budget for that. After 14th Avenue, actually here pretty soon, we are going to get City of Safford, and we're going to work with Public Works, the City of Safford Water Department crew, and we're going to put a lot of equipment down there, and we're going to strip what we can, the soil we can, out of it, and get it ready for the contractor to drive down the cost as much as possible that we can do, and then we'll pay a contractor to come in and line that pond.
That was needed, the dump truck needed out, all right?
That's going to help. We do have 2 10-wheelers,
Yeah,
and this other one will.
Yeah. Councilman McGoy?
I'm just curious where the millions of gallons we're gonna send to the fairgrounds, are we in a position to sell that water that we're not sending them? And if so, are we gonna have to do infrastructure upgrades in order to sell that?
So the excess water that we are not sending to
A lot of why we were doing this was so we'd have money to grow. But what is gonna happen with that water until we have a place to sell it?
So
We're just gonna turn off our pumps, or?
So Mayor, Councilman McGoy, so if we do exceed our storage capacity, which I don't know if we will, but essentially it will go down to the river like it currently is. If we get to that point, we have the park, Firth Park on it that we can use. We have Glen Meadows that's right there.
No, I'm talking about the 100% potable water that we're getting from Bonita Creek or from a well today. When we're not sending that to the fairgrounds, do we have a market for it?
Oh, so the ability that we're going to get with that water that is currently not going to be used at the golf course, the potable water, that could be utilized for homes, and then also economic development. So when a company comes in and is looking, they ask us how much water we have to provide. So that's very important that we free that water up for economic development or future building.
But in order to actually sell it, we're gonna have to put in infrastructure, or somebody's gonna have to.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So we don't have a bunch of water waiting to be sold.
No, so if so I anticipate during the winter, we always overflow the 10 million gallon tank. So during the summer, the consumption ramps up and we have to kick on wells. Well, if we have that water available and not using it at the fairgrounds, well then other people can use it and we won't have to kick as many wells on. So it will alleviate the demand on the wells is what I anticipate happening currently until other people tie onto the system or a business comes in and then that demand is now there again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just, Mayor, Councilman McGoy, that potable water now is water that we're not using, that we were using, that now is sitting there. So essentially, you can now reuse that water for houses in future development. Now, obviously, the infrastructure won't be there, but anybody that comes in, the development, obviously, that would be part of the discussion that we would have. But you've just now freed up like 50 million gallons of potable water that's already being used to now be used for future growth. And of course, whatever those agreements look like will unfold as they happen. Does that make sense, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
50 million gallons is equivalent to about 500 homes. And then we also have the central water exchange, which then frees up a couple more hundred homes availability, so.
Morgan, I'd like to say thank you to you and the water department. You guys are doing a heck of a job, so keep it up, man.
Councilman Amzella, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Morgan, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, and I know this should have been back on 10, but is there still a meeting this Friday?
Yes.
There's a work session this
Yes,
Friday?
there is, yeah.
Okay, who wants to adjourn?
Is it that time?
It's that time.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Got a second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?